Hello and welcome back to Great American Movie Review. We've got another one of these little mini non-spoiler reviews for new release movies. This week I'm actually joined by Kyle. He finally decided to go watch a new movie in theaters. And
I went to the
also
theater for once.
yeah. And also Hannah, my wife, is here again.
What's up?
Yeah. So it'll actually be three of us talking about The Marvels.
Cue SpongeBob's The gang's all here.
All right. So the Marvels, we'll keep this spoiler free for everybody, so don't worry about us getting into too many details about anything. We're just going to go over general plot details. But that being said, the plot here is you got Carol Danvers, Kamala Khan, and Monica Rambeau, who have these light-based powers, and they become connected, which causes them to switch places whenever they use their powers, all while a new threat to the universe emerges, and so they have to deal with that too. And my perspective here is I just want to lay this out, my own personal biases, my own like feelings on the MCU. We haven't really talked about it a lot. This is our first time really doing a video on anything dealing
In
with the
depth, I would
MCU.
say.
Yeah, in any kind of way. Um I have been a fan of the MCU since 2008, since the beginning. Um and I've enjoyed for the most part most of what they've put out. The It's been kind of tumultuous lately with the latest phases after Endgame since they've moved into expanding into television and kind of not quite as focused in what the kind of story they're telling. I've still been on board though. I've enjoyed most of the movies. I think actually Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the first Marvel movie I outright dislike because that movie to me was not good. I did not like that movie much at all. But every other one I've found redeeming qualities in, and I enjoy to some extent or another. They're not all winners, but I still have found enjoyment there. So yeah, I'm coming from the perspective of somebody who, like I said, has enjoyed these movies over the years and I've watched them many times. I'm a big geek. I like comics. I like these this movie world. Um, but yeah, Kyle, what were you kind of at with the MCU?
So I've seen all, I think it's 32 or 33 movies that have come out in theaters, actually in theaters. I've seen all of those over the course of the 15 years that the MCU has been running. I have seen zero of the TV shows. So I'll take that into account that I've seen the movies, but not the TV shows when it comes to the things that I know. I've read up about some of the plot points here and some of the characters here. So I know probably more than most, more than anybody coming into these movies or this movie particularly like that. But I would say there what people forget is the MCU definitely had a few rough movies closer to the start. Thor: The Dark World,
Absolutely.
Thor the first one,
Iron Man 2.
and Iron Man 2, and in my opinion Iron Man 3.
I like Iron Man
When
3,
it
but
comes to, I don't think it's as good as most of the other things in it compared to the rest of the phases, but I think the important thing to keep in mind for the MCU is even when there was a bad film in the first few phases, it was all just pushing it along so that the storylines could eventually reach their final arcs. So even the bad movies, or what you would consider to be a worse movie, would be pushing along the narrative. But when it comes to phases 4 and now the start of phase 5, I don't see it pushing along the narrative as strongly anymore.
no, and I have watched all of the shows except for I haven't seen the second half of Secret Invasion, and the final episode of Loki season 2 actually comes out tonight while we're recording this. So, but I've enjoyed the shows for the most part. However, they have been a mixed bag. Even so, I have not liked the formats for the show more so than
And
like
that's
the
what I've heard.
quality.
And I do you know why? So
Like the
this is
miniseries.
something meta. So specifically for the miniseries and the TV shows, they just announced very recently that they're going to start doing showrunners.
Yes.
So that tells people that they haven't been doing showrunners the entire time, which makes sense with continuity and with the narrative as a whole.
Yeah.
It really explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Hannah, what is your perspective on the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I've also seen every movie
Hmm.
and I've seen most of the shows. I agree. There's some sloppy work in there.
Yeah.
But overall, like, I don't know, they're just fun superhero movies. Some are definitely better than others. But yeah, I mean it's a fun universe. No, I just sometimes I just like black out after I watch a movie and I'm like, that was fun, and then I don't know what happened. So like you said, the Ant-Man and the Wasp and the Quantumania one.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't remember that,
Yeah,
but
we
I
saw
know
it.
we watched
It's
it.
probably good that
Probably
you don't
for the
remember it,
best. Yeah,
I feel
that's for
like
the
I may
best.
have liked it.
I
don't
feel like
remember
though
the plot.
I
There's
feel
so
like
much to keep up with
yeah.
is my problem.
Yeah.
So I can't
It
talk
is a
to
lot.
every single movie because I'm like, there's just so much going on, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just
Well, with
trying
the
to.
continuity thing, it's tough to keep up, but it's also tough to remember what is supposed to be happening and what is supposed to like change narratively, or what is like does change without any consistency.
Yeah.
So it's tough to keep up with all of these and know exactly what happens and what changes for good or for bad. So
From what I understand is that you are less invested in the continuity aspects of this universe. You just kind of take each film as they are.
Yes and no.
Mm.
Like when we started watching this movie, what's it called?
The Marvels.
See, when we started watching this, in my head, I was like, ooh, should have probably watched some like catch up thing because there's so much.
Yeah.
And right now, like Loki is in my head a lot, and I think it's fucking great. So,
Yeah, Loki's been pretty
but that
good.
has
I like
nothing
Loki.
to do with
It has
this
nothing
movie.
to do with this movie at all.
Maybe, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, so either way, that's kind of all three of our perspectives on the MCU and kind of where we're at with them right now. But yeah, this movie is directed by Nia DaCosta. She directed the Candyman movie that came out a couple years ago. That kind of legacy sequel style Candyman movie is actually pretty good. I liked that movie. I think it was well done, and I got excited when they announced her as a director. Just to talk about broadly, I think that this movie has a lot of fun things in it. I think that there's a lot of really fun ideas, and I think that it explores whatever.
It is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Hannah, it is fun. I think the movie is fun. I do think that it's also a giant mess, and it is all over the place. It is fast and loose with every idea that it presents. And it has the core concept of here lends itself to that fun, and it uses that pretty well a lot of the movie. But it has, to me, two major issues, and those issues are the villain here is, as far as I'm concerned, one of, if not the least memorable villain in the entire Marvel universe.
least developed, I would say, as well.
Yeah, least developed too.
She's given very little.
Very little. I don't even remember her name right
I
now.
didn't catch it.
And I know Malekith's name. So
Darben
yeah,
is her name.
Yeah, you told me earlier and I
I
forgot
will
it
remind
again.
you several times over.
Darbin.
Yeah, Darbin.
Sorry.
Darbin.
Dar hyphenated.
Ben.
Hyphen. Ben.
She is actually in the comics, I will say that.
Yeah.
But it's just hilarious that if you really think about it on paper, the villain's name is Darbin. That doesn't really, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Rick and Morty antagonist.
Right.
It's like this is our villain Rodney. I don't know.
May as well be though. Like that's
Yeah.
how much she's developed in this movie.
Yes, the villain duo of Darbin and Tyrone.
Yes, her sidekick in this movie
Is
is
named
Tyrone.
Tyrone.
Name.
And but the other major issue I have is that I think this movie should have been longer. I like a nice tight movie, especially one that's just really aiming for fun, like this one seems to be a lot of the time. But I think that it also gets caught up in the plot details, and there's a lot of just talking about the plot and around the plot, and it sacrifices character for plot at every turn. It seems to be able to do that. And so Captain Marvel is a character that I think needed more development across, from, I don't think, in her first movie, which is a movie that I'm fine with. It's not one of my favorites. I like kind of a lot of the ideas there. I don't love the execution of it, but I really needed more of her character development, and I just didn't get as much of it as I wanted here.
What I'll say about this movie is, like you said, there are some ideas that are fun to play with, like the the fact that all three protagonists are kind of connected because of their powers, and there's like a swapping mechanism to their powers where they swap locations and that kind of thing. But I really do feel that you can really tell that there were reshoots and like multiple extra months put into the production of this, for better or for worse. Probably mostly for worse, because you've written down that it's probably not Nia DaCosta's fault. I think I agree with that. I think there's a bit too much of Kevin Feige in this, as well as the rest of just MCU kind of like they've got their fingerprints all over this. It feels
Yeah.
a mess from top to bottom. The action sequences feel like some of them were a bit just like hamstrung thrown in there. The change in tone is very serious. Like there's a serious aspect, then it swaps to funny, then it swaps to goofy, then it swaps back to serious, and then it swaps back to goofy, and so on and so forth. That it just kind of juggles a bunch of tones that it doesn't flesh out well at all. The movie is constantly switching between B plots of Samuel L. Jackson just on a space station. I think the plot is a mess. I think some of the dialogue is really, really good. The character of Kamala Khan is pretty good compared to the rest of the characters in the movie, I feel. But when it comes to the characters of Captain Marvel and Monica, I only know Monica from the first movie because that's the only movie that she's been in prior. So, and it's just the character of her being young, so I can't really say much to her
Right.
character throughout the MCU. What I will say is the dynamic of Monica and Captain Marvel really falls flat to me because it doesn't feel fleshed out. And when it is introduced, it feels like we should have that like 30 years worth of like neglect from Captain Marvel, whether like it's meant to or not, but it feels like it should have been there previously in either the first movie or somewhere that is easily accessible. I don't think people should have to watch the TV shows in order to understand a main plot point of the characters of this movie.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
their relationship falls flat. I think Captain Marvel is a better character in this movie than the first movie, but I think that is a low bar. I think she is quite poor in the first movie.
Agreed.
She's
Yeah.
she's not even the best character in her movie. So, when it comes to the acting, Brie Larson does a better job, but it still feels like she's directed quite poorly. I know she's a good actress. I know she is.
She's an
because
Oscar
I saw
winner.
Room.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw Room. It's
Short-term
she's
12.
really good in it.
There's so many
she's
good
really,
examples.
She's a really good actress. Why is she terrible in her movies in the MCU? It doesn't make sense to me. Monica is fine. The actress gives what she can for the dialogue she's given and the characterization she's given, but it's not much, and she can't really save that much. Aman Vellani is definitely the best actor in this one, by far.
She's the standout for sure.
Mm-hmm.
She really is a standout. She reminds me of the Flash in the Justice League movies.
Yeah.
He's the best standout actor, even though he's a scumbag of a human being, Ezra Miller. But he is a standout actor in those movies because I'm grasping at straws when it comes to characters in those movies.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson is the comedic effect in this movie. I think it's done poorly based on his character in the past. I will say I do like Sam Jackson. I like him in everything he's in, so
Yeah.
that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
The Khan family is pretty good. I didn't watch Ms. Marvel, so I wouldn't know how they interact with each other and with the world around them. But I will say
Basically like that.
it's kind of nice. I think it's kind of strange having them in the plot as much as they were. Villain, as you said, very forgettable, not very fleshed out. The actress is doing what she can, I guess, but not given much. And I think that's mostly what I'll say. I think it's just a gigantic mess from top to bottom because of the way it was made.
Hannah, what are you could just say whatever you want about the movie at this point.
Okay, so I feel like they wanted to be Guardians of the Galaxy so bad because that movie does fun and like the MCU really well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this movie was so fun. I thought it was so fun, but then Kyle, I agree, and there's just like, oh, this is a really serious moment, and then like, oh, this is really goofy, and it's, I don't know. I had a good time.
If I may, MCU has done serious with Goofy in the past. Like I can point to the Avengers movies.
No,
they're
they
juggling so
definitely
many
have.
characters and that kind of thing.
Even the
and-
Guardians movies. Too.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
the
what I'm
Guardians
like.
movies especially because the
Yeah.
characters are that
Fleshed
is
out.
characterization exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I use Guardians specifically because that to me felt like the first time they let go a little bit, and that's what I feel like they were trying to do with this movie was let go a little bit. But Captain Marvel in her own movie, like you said, does not have her character fleshed out. I remember leaving that movie being like, wow, this was a really missed opportunity for an amazing character. Like, I feel like in this movie, I still don't really know who she is. I don't have any emotional connection to her. She's Brie Larson, great performer. And I think Monica, that's a
Yeah, Tiana
this
Paris'
see this
character.
is where I black out a little
Yeah, yeah. Monica Rambeau.
Yeah, Monica, she was great in her role too. And freaking Kamala, she's so cute. She's so wonderful. She's a great actress. I have seen the show Miss Marvel and I loved it. I love the family dynamics. It was so fun. I think the family was a little bit misplaced, like as much as they were in the movie, but I don't know. It was really enjoyable
Yeah,
seeing
the
them.
presence was very welcome, but I think it goes a little too far with their involvement to not spoil anything. But
I think it's to the plot's detriment
yeah,
rather than the character.
it's comedic. This movie has a lot of comedic relief in it.
It does.
But it's kind of never not comedic relief at the same time. It's kind of always a little goofy, off kilter.
But I think part of that is because there really isn't character development.
Yeah.
Like, if we had really intense, strong emotional moments, then the comedic relief would feel more like comedic
Right.
relief and not like, well, this
Precisely.
is goofy.
Yeah. It
Which-
feels like a goofy, weird romp of a movie.
Which, again, I had a great fucking time watching this movie. But I did have some qualms. Okay, the villain, Darbin,
Darby.
Darby.
Rodney.
I didn't know Darbin was in Barbie.
Yeah. Rodney or villain.
Rodney.
I feel like that story makes sense to be a villain story, but I don't know anything about. I almost called her Rodney again.
You can just call her Rodney.
You
That's
can
fine.
you can just call her Rodney.
I don't know anything about Rodney. Like, there just wasn't enough time. And okay, I'm gonna say it. It's really interesting to me that the female-led movies are the ones with the least amount of characters fleshed out, and this is the shortest movie. And that's really upsetting to me because there were some moments where I was like, this is incredible, just like female action, and it wasn't slutty. There were no ass shots. It was just girls being really powerful, and I loved it. Like, I loved it. I loved their bonding. But their characters, I love Kamala because I watched the show. And she was great in this movie, but it's like, I don't know, even Monica, I don't think she's that much in the show either.
She's in WandaVision
She
as a supporting
is.
character.
Yeah, but she's a supporting character,
Right.
so like there's some history there, but like I honestly forgot the connection between her and
So did Captain Marvel apparently.
Yeah, honestly. Like I don't know, it just that's where it fell flat, but like overall I was like this is fun. And there's some really fun parts that I can't say because of spoilies.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, to not spoil anything, but to kind of vaguely talk about it. There's one specific place in the movie that the characters go, and the concept around this place is going to be the biggest leap, I think, for people in the movie. But I think that it is fun. I really I enjoyed that sequence a lot.
I can
as
see it
an
being a
oddball
brick
kind
wall
of thing.
tonally. You either really love it or you really hate it because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to you.
Absolutely.
Well, I
I'm on the
loved it.
latter form of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I had a great time.
Yeah, it's once again, it really feeds into how just kind of odd and goofy this movie is.
I mean, I laughed at it, but I don't think for the reason the filmmakers wanted me to.
Yeah, it's very strange. It is it's very strange. There are multiple very strange plot points in this movie.
Yeah, but I think some of them are because again, this is without spoilers. So if you guys are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Well, just watch the movie and you'll understand. I think some of the things that have happened that maybe are a little qualmy for us as adults make sense for the kid demographics. Like Kamala is, what is she, like 13 years old? And so I can imagine, like,
I think she's like 16 or 17.
no, in the movie.
She's
they
in high
said
school.
She's in high school.
You can be 13 in high school. You're like a freshman.
I don't
Or
remember.
14. I don't know. Whatever.
I suppose 13 as a freshman in high school is technically, possible.
Either way.
Anyway, she's a young girl with superpowers, and that's like a family-friendly thing. And I can imagine some like younger kids being like,
It's definitely relatable to a high school teenager like that.
oh,
yeah.
for sure. There's some things I like she was doing, and I'm like, oh, that's so 13-year-old girl, or like so teenage girl.
Yeah.
Like I felt, I was brought back.
Her fangirlisms and stuff like that too.
I mean, she literally writes fan fiction,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
which is brought up too.
Yes, it is brought
It
up.
is brought up.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know, some of the, what did you call it, gobbledygook?
Gobbledygook. Yeah.
Some of that felt to me like
That's a classic Mikiah-ism.
That is. It's catering to like the younger demographics. So I'm okay letting that slide and overall having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, so I guess general wrap up thoughts then for this spoiler free conversation. Yeah, I feel like I enjoyed myself at the theater watching this. I don't know if I really liked it that much because it's so all over the place. It's so just kind of fast and loose with all of its ideas. And those other key things, the lack of real character development on a character that I think really needs it at this point, especially in the MCU. We really need these characters we can get behind. And I don't think this movie I think this movie continued the trend of not setting up Captain Marvel very well for that kind of role. But I still enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed the experience of watching it. It's goofy, and I kind of enjoyed that it's just this very strange movie in this mega franchise. But yeah, that's where I kind of fall on the movie. Kyle, how about you?
I think the final thing I'll say is I have no idea where the MCU goes from here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Having not seen any of the shows, but for movies, I have no idea where this goes. Because this didn't have a lot going for it. It had one of the worst characters in the MCU as the lead, and it had two characters from two different TV shows that not a lot of people who follow the MCU even watched. So it's got not a lot going for it. I don't know that this is going to be a success, so I don't know how they're going to continue these characters if they do. If they do, I would hope they would do a better job of it, but that's an easy statement to make. But I really do wish that. I just have no idea where the MCU is going from now.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of hard
it's
to
a mixed
place.
bag, the whole damn thing for me.
Yeah. How about you, Hannah?
My closing statement would be, this is really fun. Please, for the love of God, give women a well-rounded character. Please, like truly. Because I know we're talking about the MCU, but even like Wonder Woman was so disappointing because I was like, oh, it's just another woman who...
The first one or the second one?
Both of them.
Hannah doesn't like even the first one very much.
No, because she...
I would say I agree, but I think that's very contrarian. A lot of people think that Wonder Woman, the first one, is the best movie in the DCEU.
Well, I'm just saying, I was like, oh, this is great, this is great. Oh, she really cares about a man again. I don't know, just like, give us some freaking actual, well-rounded female characters who know who they are, who use their powers, and do cool shit without needing a man, or I don't know.
Which this
Don't
movie
make
does.
sense. It does do that, but the characters aren't fleshed out.
Right.
That's what's so disappointing to me.
Yeah.
It's like,
The characters pass the Bechdel test, but they are not fleshed out, I think is what she's saying.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what the Bechdel test is?
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, why
the
don't you
Bechdel
explain
test?
it to our audience, though?
Okay. Okay. I understand it, but I'm just wanting the audience to know. The Bechdel test is basically the easiest way of figuring out if two female characters are strong is if they never talk about a man. Or if they can have a conversation without talking about a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a measure of quality, but it is. I think it's an interesting thing that
It's
has
very
existed.
reductionist, I'd say.
Yeah.
It's very simplistic.
Yeah. But either way, Yeah, that's all of our individual thoughts on it.
Without the spoilers.
Without
If
spoilers.
you want spoilers, please
yeah,
let us know because we
um,
can talk about them.
and not to spoil anything, but just for people who are wondering, there is one credit scene in the movie. It is in the middle of the credits, so you don't have to sit all the way through to the end if that's not something you want to do.
Or do it if you just want to look at all those names.
Yeah.
That didn't
Yeah,
give us
live your
well-known
life.
female
Read
characters.
sometimes if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, that'll do it for us for this mini review for not Captain Marvel, for the Marvels.
Captain Marvel 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes, absolutely.
Captain Marvel 2 and Rodney.
Yes, and Rodney.
Captain Marvel and Rodney.
Yep. So yeah, that'll do it for us on this, and yeah, we'll see you at the movies. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.